Calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Speakers on, please. Commissioner Barquette?
Here.
Commissioner Duffy is running late. Commissioner Griffin is not going to be here. Commissioner Stevens?
Here.
Commissioner Trezza? Vice Chairman Sawyer is not going to be here as well. Chairman Atwater?
Present.
We do have 4 commissioners present. That does constitute the quorum.
Okay, moving right along. Are there any items on the consent calendar that need to be considered separately?
Yeah, I would like to, I couldn't read that, that whole policy stuff. I couldn't see all the numbers and stuff like that, so could I just get a little update of the things
Sure,
that you changed?
The authority?
Yeah, the
Yeah, so
authority
it's-
stuff, and there was one other one, that the numbers were done, this is the way it was done, I couldn't see it properly.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you're referring to. I mean, the limits are looking to increase for service agreements up to 250.
Okay,
and
up to
for
250.
construction up to 500.
Okay, so where'd the 250 come from? then? Is that just picked it up, or what was it?
Sort of random, but it was kind of driven by the emergency deck that we just had. So that was a number. Had that been in place, we wouldn't have to deal with the emergency declaration that we had to deal with.
Right.
So, and we checked around different ports, and it's all over the map. It's between 25,000 and $1 million.
Yeah.
So the authority is all over the place, so. Anything that's significant, though, will still be brought to your attention, but it just gives me the authority to
do it,
you know,
yeah,
to make it
yeah.
a little more timely. So, was there anything else on there that didn't?
No, I think that was, the other one was the change order thing. It was like anything up to 10% or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, that was for overages. Is that right,
Yeah.
Paula?
What it is we're changing the language so that it's, the decreases are unlimited, and then the increases are 10% or 100,000. The policy was 15% or 100,000 previously, but we just changed that to 10% or 100,000. And then
So,
eliminated the
okay.
decrease.
If it falls inside my authority, we approve it for 200 grand, but there's a 15% increase, then it's got to come to the board,
Correct.
right?
okay, but that doesn't seem like it makes sense, because if you have authority up to 250.
Or whatever,
and it
say it's
said
250.
Anything over 100, then what would govern? Because that says, I think you need more flexibility, but at a certain point, we're just gonna be coming here and saying, there's gonna be nothing to, talk about, Unless
Yeah,
we
no,
just
I
go-
understand. So we'll say how things to talk about, but true, I do need to have more authority on those.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, is there a number you're thinking, or?
I'm just curious where the number came from.
Shall we pull this
When the-
item from the consent calendar before we go on too far?
No, I mean, as long as, if everybody's fine with it, that's why I couldn't see it was 250. I thought it looked like it went down to 50. That's why I said.
No,
well,
it's
it didn't go down
250 and then
It used to
500
be-
for construction.
Yeah, 500 for
For
construction.
construction. Yeah, service agreements are 250.
Yeah. See, I think that's high. I mean, that, to me, that's, I mean, as long as we're being updated, I think that's fine. But I mean, to have something, that's a lot of flexibility without.
Yeah, you can modify, but I mean, you know me at this point, I'm gonna update you on everything, but if you want to modify that, I think the service agreements more than anything else, it'd probably be beneficial to increase that, because 75 is just not enough.
Yeah, so, I don't know, if everybody else is fine, it's not that big of
Why
a
don't we
deal, I
just
think
lower
that.
it a little bit? Why
Yeah,
don't we just lower it a little bit?
yeah. I was just curious where you got that from, because I think the city managers is 100, and that's 500, that's much larger. Look what they got into trouble over that, that deal, so the city manager of the city, which is $300 million budget is.
Different organization.
Well, it's even, if anything, that should be higher, right, I would think, than.
I think you get to a point, though, if we're at 75 now and we go to 100, well, what's the point?
That,
Of
yeah,
even bumping it, so maybe bring the construction down equal with the services and then see how that goes? Is that your concern, or is it just?
What's the frequency, Kirk? I mean, how much activity is there?
Well, if you look at the consent calendar, there's always activity, so there's something every month that's above my signing authority that we have to come to the commission with. The problem is timing. We don't want to have meetings every 2 weeks unless you guys do. I don't really want to have meetings every 2 weeks, but there's certain things that we may have a timing constraint that we need to get done that's up between 75 and, you know, 250. Or if we have the emergency situation like we had, we're taking that liberty anyway, but then we're going back and having to do the emergency deck, which then can become an issue, so.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I mean, I do think we need to increase the services for sure, but.
Yeah,
the
but I mean,
construction-
just like, just out of, just an example, like, these two things now would not be on the, they would not be on the consent calendar. We would not even see them or not.
E would be on there, but
Why, it'd be
F
under,
would
no,
not.
it's under change order.
Well, because that's a change order, so depending on the percentage, if it's above 10%, it would be on there, which this is
If
above 10%.
it's change order more than 10% of the project, it would
But
be
yet,
on
to your
there.
point, F would not be on there.
Yeah.
Or-
Yes.
So what is the limits right now?
Current threshold's 75,000 for a service agreement.
And what is it for construction?
I don't even know. Do you know, Paula?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
For construction, what's the limit?
Construction is the same as.
75.
As the procurement services.
And sorry, I couldn't find
And
it
it would go
either.
to
So what are you trying to
250,
raise it to?
500 is what's on there.
250 for services, 500 for construction?
Construction, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a little too high.
On
Just-
both,
I-
or,
Let's pull that from the consent calendar, okay?
200,
Let's pull
200.
that right now, item D. We're going to pull it from the consent calendar.
I didn't really catch that.
Anything else? Any other changes to the consent calendar from the public or the commission? Okay, for the remaining items, I'd like to have a motion.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, motion is second by Mr. Trezza. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
so we can modify, if we want to modify the numbers on this, we can do that now and then approve it and just
Yeah,
back adjust it. Does that make sense?
I mean,
Consist with some of the methodology applied.
yeah.
So to speak to the $500,000, the reason why we used that number in the staff report and the proposal is that the majority of the construction contracts are going to be well beyond the $500,000 mark. This really just allows us to continue business continuity on the construction side under that $500,000 mark for roof repairs, the minor things that are ongoing, they're considered construction contracts, but we have an immediate need to do it without having to declare an emergency declaration for these types of activities. So it's really trying to gauge what the point of impact is going to be for those smaller type construction contracts as opposed to the most larger ones that you would see normally. So that's where the $500,000 came from. And it's also directly tied to the 2022-23 storms. We had an emergency declaration for that. I believe that number was $500,000, and then the recent one for the docks was $750,000. So wanted to kind of keep it consistent with the emergency declarations we had already approved.
Do we have to meet as a group to approve it now? Like,
The emergency declaration's over.
right,
Yeah,
but I'm
but-
saying if something came up, let's say 75 is the limit right now, and something came up that was 150, do we have to meet as a group, or can we do it by email?
No, it has to be.
No, it has to be-
Public,
It's public approval.
public meeting.
yeah, so the same, it's got to be put out there
So you don't want to
beforehand.
be held up?
Yes.
And held up on a construction project where you have a change order, right?
Correct.
Which is, yeah, but, I
And
mean,
I
you
think
don't, you don't pay your bills once a month. I mean, I see that, I don't wanna micromanage it, but still, $500,000 is a big number for a change order. Not the size, this is the change order, not
No,
the
not the
project.
change order, for the actual procurement piece itself, for the construction contract. So what that $500,000 allows us to do, we would still follow all procurement policies. For construction, we have to follow public contract code. There's very specific guidelines that we have to follow to ensure we're in compliance with that piece. That will not change. It's really just the matter of having to wait an additional 6 weeks to 2 months, depending on staff capacity, to bring these to the commissioners for approval versus moving forward with it to continue maintaining services and continuity of business.
The change order in excess of 10% is still,
The change order is
still stays.
kind of a moot point. That was already in the policy. We just reduced it from 15% to 10% at the attorney.
Yeah, but a 10% change order is, that's not on any one line item, that's the whole project. So that's huge. You usually have a 10% contingency. So you're very rarely gonna have a change order that is 10% of the entire amount. So that's that's really something that's not, to my mind, is not a relevant policy. It would be,
But isn't it cumulative for any change orders? So it's not just one, it's all.
It's all.
Not a single change order at 10%, total of change orders at 10%.
so when you go over the threshold, no matter what the number is, you
Still
gotta
we're
come to
coming
us?
you. Yep,
So even if it's 20,000 at
Yes.
that
Yes.
point?
yes.
Okay. Okay. I did not read that way to me.
Yeah, that's,
And
That's
why,
what- that's
why is
what
the
it is.
500,000 in there, though? What's the,
The 500,000 is because the construction contracts are larger in size than the goods and services that we procure on a regular basis. So it's really just giving us more flexibility on the construction side.
yeah, so any contract size under 500,000 you could approve without coming to us?
Without committee approval.
Yeah, okay, that's the policy.
It's a lot of money.
I
And
mean,
it is to note that we also do, we report all of these contracts out quarterly as well. So you'll have that visibility regularly, as well as the policy still contains a provision that we could report on an ad hoc basis or by request.
I think in my mind, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the service contracts are, for me, more critical that we bump that. The construction, we have a little more lead time, we know, so I think we have a little more flexibility on
And
that.
the only thing that like concerns me about like the construction contract is, take for instance lobbying. I mean, all of us are involved in, we're all involved in politics and going back to Washington too. And let's say you wanted to bring a new lobbying contract before us. You could easily hire anybody without our input, very easily. And 250,000 would be a big, a big number. And that would be something like I would want to discuss. Why are we what benefits do they bring or stuff like that. So I don't want to micromanage, but I also don't want to become, just a rubber stamp,
Yeah.
because, there are things that can change the direction of the way we're going. Like, oh, you choose between a different, engineering firm? I get that, but I don't know, it just seems high to me.
Well, project flows through the commission too. We feel and we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that our input is considered and our approval given to really all expenditures by the port.
Which it is through the budget process, or it
Through the
should
budget process, it's through the budget process, but, yeah, we don't want to bury things in the budget, though, to where we don't have, where we lose some of our
It's in this D.
our ability
I didn't
to,
read it. Something different here.
make approvals of,
3D.
well, it's in the budget, so it's okay. Then we don't, maybe we don't, I don't want to ever get to the point where we don't hear about things that are happening at the commission level. Because it's a $400,000 construction project that's over here, it was in the budget, but the money's already spent, and after the check's signed, somebody comes back and says, oh, hey, they spent this. Oh, really? I don't remember that. As a commissioner, I think that's a little bit awkward.
And like the budget, like I'm saying, the budget, we were like 7, I know there was an explanation for it, but you can, and we may not be here, it's not necessarily for me or something, it's even for future, commissions. You can budget a lot of things too, just because you budget things doesn't mean that it's.
What about changing,
you're
items in
stamping
the
every
budget?
line item, that's just a guideline.
Changing items in the budget?
Yeah, you have an expenditure for dock improvements, and it was supposed to be for this dock, and then it goes to some completely different project that had to do with the dock, and then, it's under the approval amount, so, would we hear about that?
So you would hear of that through the CIP, right? So when we put the CIP together for the budget development and then subsequent adoption process, we would have a list of all of the intended CIP projects
hard to
or
read.
construction.
It's right here.
For the current year plus extending out 5 years. So anything that would fall within that specific,
That's terrible.
Okay.
if it's a generic type
Is
of.
it the updated memo?
Included in that in anticipation of that expense. Now, there may be some variation of dollars spent, right? We might spend more or less, but that would still be a transaction that would need to go to the commissioners for approval, because most of these transactions are gonna be rolled up
I just want, do we have to vote on this today? And I don't want to hold it up. It's just that I, like, didn't get this out of what I received, and I probably didn't read it closely enough. But,
If we don't, then we have a project we're not gonna be able to do because of this.
can we just
Which-
approve the
Give
project?
us an example.
Well, is Katie in here?
I'm right here.
Oh, didn't we have an issue with the,
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a
just
service
don't have-
contract, we would have to,
yeah,
it
but
would
we
just,
have
it would
to
delay the
make
service
it
contract that,
be-
yeah.
So going out to an RFP isn't, it doesn't.
Can we not just, like, talk about that one now?
No, I mean, let me ask you a question. If it's something that's not below your threshold, are you absolved of doing RFPs? Is that
No, no.
another, is that, no,
No.
you still have to do the RFP.
We have to
right?
do that, or,
We have the ability to do the informal bid process up to her signature authority. We have.
Oh, you
the-
do, so then you
Yes.
can, then you can,
We can for those types of services. The problem that we're going to run into with this particular need is that it's immediate and the RFP process takes up to 2 months to go start to finish.
Yeah.
Um,
but I mean, let me give you an example, and I'm not being critical. Like, that's something that, all these things and repercussions should have been in a memo to us before we saw this. Nothing was, I had to search through because I was just curious what the amount would be. I couldn't even figure out what the amount was. I couldn't even see it or couldn't figure it out. But there's no memo that says, like, that's another repercussion. By changing your authority, you then don't have to do an RFP for, and everybody may say that's what we want to do, but that's not an insignificant thing.
and that's where I'm lost a little bit, because there is a memo
Yes, yes.
that spells it all out, but
Okay, where was it?
it's not in this package either. So,
Oh, okay.
Unless it was an updated one, I can't find it either.
You know, I didn't see it. If it was in there and it's detailed, I don't,
I'm a little lost also. If I could just, two observations. I was not involved in this process, so I may be completely off base here and shouldn't be speaking at all, and I apologize.
Actually, I was going to ask you a question about this.
Well, I wasn't involved in this, but just for purposes of clarity, and I'm not expressing an opinion for or against, is that
It didn't, I
as
missed
a
it.
general rule, you do not have to
Yeah.
perform an RFP for a personal service contract. It's not a strict legal requirement because of the personal nature of the services.
okay,
You don't do an RFP when you decide what doctor you're gonna go to.
yeah,
That's-
okay, that's good.
As to the notion of the emergency situation, that's going to apply by statute, notwithstanding the authority of the port director. And that is because the reason we adopted that emergency ordinance, or that emergency declaration, is to dispense with the public bidding process. And the statute says an agency can only do that if 6/7 of its board votes for it. So whether it's under 500,000 or over 500,000 is irrelevant for purpose of the statute. No matter who is authorized to do it, they cannot do it in violation of the public bidding code unless the governing board by a 6/7 vote declares the emergency. So to the extent that's a factor in this, unless I'm missing something, I don't believe it is a factor.
she's printing the memo, so that's part of the issue, is the memo didn't make it into
Yes.
your package, so.
Well, yeah,
That basically, I mean, it explains what we,
So can you,
Explain,
just
but-
in simple terms for me, what's holding up this one situation if we don't vote on it today?
Because the contract could be over 75,000, I would be required to do an RFP for health service. And that takes 2 to 3 months. And we have an immediate need that would go maybe 3 to 5, 6 plus months. And so it,
But I thought Anthony just asked, this has nothing to do with whether or not you guys send out for an RFP. If we give you
our
guys,
policy right now is that if it's over 75,000 or could be, that we have to go out for an RFP.
if it's below my signing authority, we can do the informal 2 or 3 bids. If it's above my signing authority, then we have to do an RFP.
okay, that's what I
And-
think
and
you
in this
asked, but
case-
I
Yeah.
don't think they answered that.
yeah, and that's why I say that was, I mean, we could, you know, you could change that without changing, you know, the number, see what I'm saying? You solved it by pushing the number much higher than other, you could also change that policy, right, on service contracts, because you said we don't have to go out to RFP on
If it's
service
still, if
contracts.
it's above
Not
the
by
signing authority,
statute.
whether we go through an RFP or process or not, it would still need to go back to the board.
I had it.
Yeah.
So then, that's part of the challenge. So we'd have to wait till
December?
December,
And what contract was that, for instance?
it's,
It's for support services.
Okay, what kind of support
IT
services?
support services.
I thought that's what we approved right there.
No, that's the assessment.
That's the assessment.
Okay. So we got the support services before we did the needs
something
assessment?
completely different.
What?
Something completely different.
It's different than the needs assessment. That's an organizational assessment. The support service is actually for the department. It's a lack of personnel.
So. Wish that thing was turned off.
What's that?
Well,
No,
okay, so basically you want to raise it so you don't have to go out for RFP. And you don't want to be held up waiting for us to approve it.
yeah.
The intent is really to maintain continuity of services.
I'm not looking
and
to
we're-
bypass the board.
It's not an attempt
that. I don't
to
think
subvert the current signature authority or bypass the board approval process. Those mechanisms will still be in place. It's really to assist with us facilitating some more proactive efforts that we're trying to engage in now. We've been reactionary for very long, and some of our needs, our immediate business needs, don't have the cushion that we would like to have if we were to go to the board the following month. So a lot of these things we need to, once we get those proposals in, we need to be able to make the decision and move forward and act on them timely for continuity of services. Once we get into a more proactive state, we probably won't have that much of a need, but we do have a lot of these lower hanging objectives that need to be met.
What if we do this instead of just shoving this down your throat is what I feel like now? Why don't we push this to the next meeting? If it's not policy that we have to do an RFP over 75, then we'll just do the informal bids over 75 for
And
Katie.
I would throw out another alternative too, is I would make a motion to approve it at 150. And here's my thinking on that. I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think things are moving at such a lightning pace around here that that you guys can't bring stuff before us. We're supposed to meet twice a month. We only meet once a month, right? Now, I'm not saying that we do, but when we all got involved in this, it said to meet twice a month. The idea that something is, that important between that threshold, that something can't wait, an additional 2 weeks, I'd be curious. That's why I was like, curious, whatever, and with all due respect, I didn't get a straight answer on what it was. It would have been very simple to say, hey, this was the contract that was, and that kind of bugs me a little bit, And so I was like, well, what was the thing that had to, that you wanted to get done that you couldn't bring it for us? It was this, nebulous support service thing. Just say, oh, we're trying to, do this. And so I'm kind of, I think 75 is too low, but I think 250 is too high. So I'd be happy to go forward with 150, or I'd be happy to.
Services, yes.
For this one specifically, if we want to push it to the next meeting, so we can get you a better, or just give you time to,
I mean, I think having a higher threshold makes sense. I do. And we had even mentioned that
Yeah.
before, like I said. And I think all of them were to be curious what ones are like $1 million. Because I thought 250 was high. I was curious when it was gonna be on there. That's why I couldn't find the number. I was like, okay, what would I think? In my head, I thought, 150. That's what I thought. 100 would be not much from 75, and
150, you're talking about a proposal for 150 of personal services.
150.
150 limit on personal services or
His
everything?
threshold that he doesn't have to bring back.
Yes.
Right? That's,
And-
services
and-
or construction or both.
Yeah.
Well, construction was higher.
no, construction to me, and this is what I say, I got confused. Construction is the 10% thing, really. I mean, we went through that.
Just the change order. That's just the change
That's
order.
just a change order. There's
$500,000.
also a $500,000 request for approval of
Okay.
construction projects.
Yeah, and like I said, it'd be nice to see in a memo, like, how many things fell within that
That's what
category.
I was wondering. I
You
feel
know,
like.
is this like a huge thing of all these little $300,000 contracts, then I would say, yeah, if there's a bunch of things. But if it's, 2 or 3 a year, put them on the friggin' agenda, I mean, it's not that big. Just so just so we know what's going on. We have that whole capital list. It's not,
Would it be
I don't
too
think it's
much?
asking that much. Now, if there's 10, if they're coming up once a month and they're all over the place and it's, taking up so much staff time to put about a big report, then that's something different. But I don't know the answer to that.
I think in fairness, you guys know more about this than we do, and this would have helped probably. So I guess I do feel like you want an answer now. I get that. I don't want to hold you up,
Don't worry about it. Thank you.
but I feel like I need to like just go through it and have a better understanding of it.
I think
just
if
to
we
come up with
push,
a number
in
for
my
you.
mind, we push this to the next meeting, just so we can get a better handle on it, or you guys get a better handle on it. It's not gonna change much than what we gave you in the memo, but, maybe we can reconsider the number. But if we can deal with Katie's need without doing an RFP, then we press forward.
We weren't gonna do that if it was under 75 anyways, so.
But what if it's above? Then do we have to, or is that just our policy?
That has been consistent with our policy even prior to the implementation of the one that we're currently using now. Anything related to your signature authority did not have to go through the formal RFP process. Anything beyond your signature authority did.
My question is, if it's above my signature authority, which this probably will be, can we bypass the RFP and just do an informal bids?
Or you could shorten the time. I mean, if it's not gonna be that much per month. If it was like a 1 or 2 year contract, make it a 6-month contract under your authority and give us the time to do that. And then you could always.
It is anyway, right, Katie? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's different points of view, but it could be I was starting off with a 3-month contract with up to a 3-month extension, depending on needs. And then there was another viewpoint of just put it for a year.
And the total amount? What's the total amount?
I'm hearing about 20 grand a month. But I don't know that till I reach out to get quotes.
Yeah. And so to me, like, once again, like, if you really wanted to do something like that, you could do it for 3 months, see how it was going. You'd be like, boy, this is turning into a bigger thing. And if you had to bring
And
it.
then we'd have to go to the board.
You could, but you could also avoid it by a series of 3-month contracts.
We can't do that.
We can't do that.
That goes, yeah, it's against.
I can't do that because
Okay,
it's
well,
the
then you
same
bring
as
it back.
Sanford's,
But then you have more than enough time to know it's a bigger problem than you thought, and that'd be part of your report. I thought it would just be, so even 150 would give you way more latitude on that too. I'm not saying keep it at 75, but, I mean, there's other ways to solve this short-term problem, is what I'm saying. But in the meantime, I personally, I would be comfortable with 150. If not, if everybody wants to gram down 250, I'd say let's wait to hear from everybody else and push it off.
And I would just be curious, the construction, if we could just get a list like the last 2 years, how many contracts you've had
It's in the quarter. I
within
mean,
that,
you guys get it every quarter,
okay.
but.
I know,
it's
Kirk,
not- I
but
know,
that's
I-
the thing, you guys give us these, you always, that's.
It's all in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I know, it's all in there, but yeah, we're gonna sit there and you should tell us the stuff. We don't need to go through and sift through everything. You're saying, oh yeah, well, it was in the budget, like we should have known 9 months ago. Like we're gonna sift every little thing. Hey, you guys approved it 9 months ago. No, that's why commissions do and stuff what they do. You bring it back before, it's consistent with what you approved before. Don't put it on us to have to sift through the.
I'm not saying that, I'm saying that in the quarterly updates, I give you all the construction numbers are there. I can
No, fair enough, I mean, I
give you
get
whatever you
it.
want, however you want it, but I just need to know. If you want just a construction breakdown every quarter, we can do that as well.
So
That's
I'm,
not a
I'm
problem.
fine, but now I need time though to go back and look at the quarterly reports,
Yeah.
just to,
Okay, so do we want
so where
to
we.
Is there a motion on the table?
Sorry.
push it to next?
Or are we gonna push it?
It's up to you. I was prepared to make that.
I want to do it so
That motion. If
Katie
you
can
wanna push it,
proceed
we'll
with
push
what
it.
she needs to do.
Will
And then-
150 make a difference for the next 30 days?
Yeah.
Because it can always come back again next month, and you can decide,
Let's do that.
based on whatever information you get, if you want to do something different.
I think we should do that.
So you're going to go from
Increase
75
it-
to 150 on both.
Both for 1
services
month, and then
construction.
can we
I could see
discuss it at the next
construction being
meeting?
a lot higher.
Yeah, I can see
Nothing's
construction
cheap.
being, as I said, it would depend, to Margaret's point, which I don't have on what is,
The average.
yeah, I mean, how many fall into that category? So if it's just a placeholder, I would make it, no, it's now 100, I would make it 250. This is a placeholder, and then if we had to come back, if I had to make a motion today, not knowing
You're
anything.
talking about 150,
150 and 250.
150 and
Display
250?
The size of the contracts you've looked at in the last 6 months?
2 years is
So we
what.
we have that, Jason, right? I mean, we have all the contracts, we've got all the construction contracts.
Yeah, we could actually print a list by the end of the meeting,
That would be helpful.
That would be, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a motion on the table for 150 and 250?
I motion that.
Yeah, second.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Comments?
Aye.
Okay,
Okay, and then we'll get that list printed up for you and get it to you. Thank you.
150 and 250. Approved. Okay, item 5, consideration possible approval category exemption pursuant to CEQA, et cetera.
Okay, Rhonda? Public comments.
Till non-agenda public comments.
Public comments on non-agenda items only, right?
All right. This is a big day, I think, for the port. Here, today, we are to discuss the property acquisition of 3505 Navy Drive, 8.46 acres, also known as the Kennedy Flag Lot. We've previously discussed this. This is an overall map. You can see the port's west complex and east complex outlined in blue. The little yellow flag lot on the waterfront is the site in question. This is a little bit closer picture. I don't think we had any last time of that. So the site is 8.46 acres of vacant industrial parcel. It's located on Rough and Ready Island near the secured west complex entry. It's a waterfront site with abandoned wharf, potential for dock rehabilitation and maritime-related uses. The port has long felt that achieving ownership of this property would be critical to the port's long-term growth. It would also prevent competitive use. Also combined with the golf course next door to it, creates a much longer waterfront and up to 45.5 acres of contiguous waterfront land. The overall golf court is about 37 acres. The acquisition also ensures compatible port-aligned future uses rather than marketing and purchase by a non-port owner. Just as a side, we haven't really talked about this, but the actual port district boundary jogs out right now and excludes those two private property sites. At some point, we're gonna have to administratively include this little parcel into the port boundaries to achieve port zoning and make it consistent with our development agreements with the city of Stockton.
And on that note, if this site gets passed, we would start doing that right away, right?
Yeah, it's not a super big hurry, but
Okay,
at some
yeah.
point. It's gonna still port-owned land, but it's only really, would come into play if we're starting to immediately look at developing the site. You'd have to have that done by then. Sales price is $4.5 million, which is $12.21 a square foot, $532,000 an acre. There are no broker fees, targeted close by the end of calendar year 2025. We think, as said before, a strategically important waterfront asset supporting long-term port development. There's limited land in the area, but there's really limited waterfront developable acreage. Secures contiguous property and prevents incompatible use. It's been appraised with its highest and best use as for industrial and maritime-related use. Suitable for future maritime industrial operations and potential dock rehabilitation. So this is a due diligence summary. We did some extensive environmental analysis of the site, mostly due to former naval operations on the port. There was also some potential impacts from an adjacent site. The Phase 1 and Phase 2 have been completed and found to be acceptable with no regulatory action warranted. Impacts from nearby facilities have not impacted the property, shell and prior naval station activity. The appraiser was Cushman & Wakefield. The appraisal was dated August 15th, 2025. They came back with a fair market value range that supports the acquisition price. The range was $4.425 million to $4.97 million. Title and survey have been ordered. The survey is being finalized at this point and will be completed and signed off with final title review by legal prior to close of escrow. The purchase and sale agreement is an as-is, minimal reps and warranties. Purchase and sale agreement been reviewed by outside counsel. It's been executed by the seller. It'll be subject to final legal review once the final title report is done and board authorizes the closing of the property. So purchase price $4.5 million. We estimate additional closing costs of approximately $40,000 not to exceed. That's approximately 0.9%. There's no broker fee. Funding has been included in this year's budget, and the source is unrestricted cash. So port staff recommends approval of a resolution authorizing the port director to file a notice of exemption under CEQA guidelines 15061B3, and to complete acquisition of the Kennedy property at 3505 Navy Drive for $4.5 million plus closing costs estimated at $40,000. And to authorize the port director to take all closing actions necessary, including execution of all documents related thereto. Do we have any questions?
I've got one, sorry.
Who did the environmental? It says performed, no name.
The phase one was done by Kleinfelder, the phase two was done by
Kleinfelder?
GSK.
And it came out clean, huh?
Yeah, with Shell and the old mobile plant on either side of it,
There's groundwater contamination, but doesn't extend the road property.
right?
The first bullet on the last slide, just so I understand about asking for exemption from CEQA.
So CEQA would be, there's no CEQA required at this time, there's no action, but once there's any potential lease or development of the property, that's when the CEQA action and CEQA review would be necessary by this body.
Could I just add that
Yeah.
under CEQA, you are required to comply with CEQA whenever you have a capital P project as defined in the statute. Here, there is no project. There's simply the change of who owns the property.
Okay.
And there are actually court cases on that where they've gone to the appellate court arguing this point of all things, that simply changing the ownership of a piece of property does not have the possibility of having an environmental effect.
Okay, so that's why we're asking for the exemption,
Yes.
because it's not necessarily required, because we're just changing owner.
Who owns it?
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Discussion?
Any immediate prospects for third parties or anybody else interested? Or
Not an immediate one.
no one's meddling around?
Any more commission comments? Any public comments? I guess there are no public comments.
Not online.
Okay, not online, okay. Is there a motion to approve this acquisition?
Move.
I'll
Trezor
second.
moves,
I'll second.
Margaret seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, it is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good. Needed that property. Okay, any committee reports?
None.
None? Okay. Port director comments, sir.
Well, just a couple things. The holiday party's December 6th at the Lindy House. Invitation should have gone out.
They went out.
Yes, they went out.
And then the city has opened up their applications for what'll be an open commissioner seat. That'll close December 1st. So, and that's with the city clerk.
So is Steve officially not running, or is he?
He
do we
told me
know?
that he wasn't going to.
Is it Alan?
No.
No, Steve.
Steve Griffin.
Steve Slot.
Allen's a county appointed.
Yeah.
when did they open it up?
I don't know when they opened it. I just know it closes December 1st. They have one
Closes in
application
2 weeks and they have one application.
currently.
As I say, you know, they gotta get it, people gotta get it out there, because a lot of people don't know.
I don't know how they put it out there. It's on the city clerk's website, but you have to find it.
It's the
So
same-
that's why I
same kind
mentioned-
of thing I was complaining about.
That's why I
You're like,
mentioned
it's
it
out
here."
there, you know?
It's in my quarterly, Anthony. What's wrong with you?
Page
No, I,
27,
Yeah,
footnote 4,
I
you
have to say,
know?
I'm a little surprised.
What's wrong with
That's
you?
why,
It's sort of
that's why I
like-
mention it now, because there's no really public notice of it that I
But
know
like, who
of.
puts it out there? Do they
City.
just put it out there anyways, even if we plan to renew our position?
Yeah, you have
Yes,
to
they have
know.
to
That's
put
what I
out there,
didn't
yes.
understand.
You have to know, you have to be aware, and normally we would be aware.
And
But
they
even the
usually
last time I
contact
did, they had
the
to call and
current
say, yeah, are you gonna
city
reapply?
commissioner
'Cause I
to
didn't-
let them know.
They may mention the city council meeting, but
Did they?
not the
Usually
hours
they
that I
don't.
see. Yeah.
That's why I say they don't, so people have to be aware.
Wow, so it closes in
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And I'm not sure how we get that, or if that's even our response. I mean, it's not my
It's- yeah,
responsibility
it's
to put it
not.
out, I know that.
It's
But,
the
but it
city.
needs to, the message needs to get out there.
Yeah, somebody wants to
We
apply,
can
they gotta
talk to
get it.
people, right?
That's pretty quick.
Yeah,
Just try to get
Small
a good
window.
prospect.
It's a very small window.
And then they'll interview on one of their meetings in December, so we don't know that date yet either.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that window was open either.
And how does the county do it?
City resident, right?
I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
I think similar. How does the county do it? I was
County
city.
put out a notice, or,
Actually, I was called by some people who are familiar with the port and says, hey, there's a position open and apply with the county.
if you're not actively interested, I
You don't know.
think you're
See,
gonna know.
that's why I say even, I wasn't sure, I knew it was coming up, but I wasn't sure. But to be here on the 17th and it closes on the 1st, I mean,
we
people
found
gotta
out-
take the time to really think,
found
hey, do
out
I
today.
really
Not
wanna
today.
do this?
Yeah, we found out
What's the
today.
closing date?
So I really
December
wanna do
1st.
this and to apply. It's not-
Yeah.
December 1st.
I mean, the application process isn't really that complex. It's
No.
online and you just kind of answer some questions, so it's not super complicated.
When did the city publish it?
I don't know.
We found out today. We just found out today, so
two
we
weeks
have
to
to
You
prep.
wanna- you know, you gotta do a little bit of homework to see
I
if you
did.
really wanna do it. This is something you always wanted to do, you know?
I don't know if anybody knows anybody.
Well, that's what yeah.
Trying to think.
And to my point, I think that's probably it. People who are actively interested in it know.
Yeah.
That's a short one.
Yeah, okay.
And we don't know how many applications they may have as of today.
They have one,
She said that.
One?
one today.
One. Yeah.
Wow.
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner comments? Commissioner comments on other topics?
No, I would just make one comment or ask a question. I noticed that we're like, seems like we're considerably down, not considerably down, but like over 20% on the traffic this year. It's gotta be the
Maritime.
tariffs, right? I mean, it seems like,
It is, I mean, it's, like, so we don't know because
Yeah.
it's hard to predict what's gonna come in, but that has impacted us, obviously, but, coal's been a big factor.
yeah.
Sean, what else do we think? Just primarily coal has been the biggest impact?
Renewable.
Renewables have been down, maybe tariff, related, maybe not. Fertilizer volumes have been down as well, pretty considerably. Liquid bulk fertilizer is down more than dry bulk fertilizers.
Our liquid numbers were up last year, pretty good, year over year, I think, right, liquid fertilizer. Yeah, so, we may start to see some rice and some coils possibly.
General cargo volumes have been good. It's been
Rice still
bulk
steady?
Volumes that have been down.
The state took away offshore manufactured renewable fuel subsidies. If it's made offshore, you don't get any benefit by selling it in California. So, I know we were a major importer with Neste. I think we used pretty much everything we took pretty much everything they brought into port ourselves. And the state stopped that, so. Neste was taking the volume where it made more economic sense. So that was a ship every 7 to 10 days, ship or barge,
That's it. I was just
so,
comment.
yeah.
No comment.
Okay. public comments on non-agenda items.
So we have one from Mary Elizabeth. Thank you for posting this strategic plan update, and we hope that the public will have involvement, particularly relating to infrastructure improvements. The news of the golden mussel growth in pipes is a concern to the public, especially when the Port of Stockton relies on deep water channel San Joaquin River for fire water. What does the port do to prevent invasive species contamination related to shipping? All vessels that arrive at a California port must submit the ballast water management report 24 hours prior to arrival at each port in California. Does the port verify that this report has been filed and fees paid? Since 10/20/24, when the golden mussel was first detected by state regulators, the organism has become more widespread, being detected throughout the Delta as shown below from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And there's a chart that's in that out. Shortly after the detection of the golden mussels at the Port of Stockton, the Delta Sierra Group submitted comments on the NOP for an expansion of the new Nevada Cement LLC, formerly Lehigh Cement, that we were wondering when the DEIR for the expansion will be available for review. I understand that some port charge a tipping fee that is used to fund environmental improvements, and we wonder whether or not this is something the Port of Stockton has discussed. We have attached 4/2/225 correspondence to the City of Stockton Water Advisory Group, which includes comments on the Boggs Tract Stormwater Improvement Project, which was recently presented to the City of Stockton Council Water Committee. We wonder if the Port of Stockton is involved with the proposed improvements. Please feel free to contact me. And that's it. I'll email it as well.
Need to make any comment back?
No, but we will. Looking at Jeff, but we will be back in touch with her. Yeah.
Okay, and no other comments from anyone in the room right now? Public comments? Okay. We are now entering closed session pursuant to Government Code 54956.8.
In 1845, when Charles Weber acquired a 49,000-acre parcel from his luckless business partner in exchange for paying off his grocery bill, he couldn't have anticipated what awaited him 3 years later.
During the gold rush, Argonauts could come to Stockton en route to what were known as the Southern Mines. But the principal artery for transportation and the fastest way to travel was via water.
There was no Stockton in those early days. There was Charles Weber's tent town on the San Joaquin River that served as a jumping-off point for the gold fields.
He realized that the San Joaquin River was going to be the principal aid in developing his city, and Charles Weber was able to attract enough business people to establish hotels and restaurants and freight companies, and they would cater to the wants and needs of the miners. Those who did not make their fortune, in many instances, had been farmers in their previous lives. And coming back into Stockton or Sacramento, took a look around the Central Valley and realized there was great agricultural potential.
We're in San Joaquin County. This is the most productive agricultural area really in the world. You grow corn, wheat, almonds, walnuts, fruit, a whole host of different commodities feeding the world. You couldn't have the unique agricultural environment we have without the river. That is what allowed this state to turn from a gold mining state, if you will, to a food state.
California's Central Valley is blessed with the best soil there is. Back then, the problem was less about growing the food than it was getting it to market. Without a statewide railroad system or even decent roads, Stockton was in a strategic position to be a hub, connecting the valley by river to San Francisco.
From gold rush days, riverboats carried passengers and cargo on a daily basis between Stockton, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
With the Central Pacific Railroad's completion of a branch line in 1869, connecting Stockton with the Transcontinental Railroad, the city's vision as a trade and transportation hub began to materialize, except for one critical issue.
There were rather tortuous waterways leading from San Francisco to Stockton, weaving and turning through the islands. And because of hydraulic mining, there was a lot of sedimentation of these river areas, and so it was becoming rather shallow.
In addition, ships were getting larger with deeper drafts, leaving the river's shallow depth a barrier to ocean-going vessels. If the region was going to grow with the times, it had to tame the twisting passage through the delta. Even though no single individual gets credit for proposing a dredged shipping channel, it was Lieutenant Colonel Barton Stone Alexander who drew up the plan in 1870 that showed it was feasible.
They kind of choked at the projected $8 million price tag of such a ship canal. And so it continued to be a festering problem for the city of Stockton, being cut off from that ocean-going transportation.
Other countries hungered for California products, not just grains, nuts, and cotton, but manufactured goods too. The opportunity for trade was undeniable.
When a product moves and how it moves is all dependent on where the destination is. The ship behind me is actually loading rice that's going to Japan. Rice would not be able to get to Japan if it didn't use port facilities, because it doesn't make economic sense to ship the kind of tonnage that one ship can hold in another way, like say maybe in an aircraft.
Stockton's residents remained convinced their future lay in a navigable ship channel. So in 1925, they passed a $3 million bond toward its construction. The state and feds later added more funds that finally set the project in motion. Work began in 1930. Dredges began removing millions of cubic yards of river bottom. Clamshell dredges piled the mud and rock to make levees that formed the new channel, opening acres of delta islands for farmland. Despite the Great Depression and Hitler's rise in Germany, in Stockton, church bells rang and automobile horns blared. It was 1933, and more than 1,000 people celebrated the arrival of the Daisy Gray, the first deep draft vessel to arrive at Stockton's new port using the new channel. It was the start of a new era.
The local responsibility was to develop the facilities. So they developed the docks, the warehousing, the rail connection, many of which we're actually still using today. In my opinion, rail facilities are just as important to the success of a port as a dock.
Central California Traction Company has been in business for more than 100 years. We are a small railroad that basically does all the railroad switching on the Port of Stockton, and we're going all day long. We get rail cars from two major railroads, Burlington Northern and Union Pacific, and we get those cars, separate them all out, take them to the customers, let them unload them or load them, and then take them back and give them to those Class I railroads. The port is a busy place, and they've got ships coming in, they've got trucks coming in, and if we didn't have the railroad here, you wouldn't be able to get enough trucks in over the road infrastructure that they have.
When the United States mobilized to fight in World War II, Stockton's port facility became an integral part of the war effort. The United States Army took over the Port of Stockton, and it became the largest vehicle and parts consignment center in the entire United States. The harbor overflowed with 10,000 workers, loading merchant vessels and assembling as many as 125 ships for the war effort, from tugs to minesweepers.
In 1944, the United States Navy took over what was known as Rough and Ready Island and turned it into a naval complex. And the Navy held on to this area up until the year 2000, when Rough and Ready Island and all of its developments were turned over to the Port of Stockton.
Rough and Ready Island tripled the size of the port overnight. It added warehousing and open land that the Port of Stockton never had before. The acquisition really helped us to be able to provide additional space for tenants to develop their own projects.
Yara North America chose this location for its central location in the valley. We were able to lease a piece of the land here and build this facility and move our operation from another location that was less profitable and less convenient, so to speak. Keeps us competitive, keeps our costs down, and keeps us profitable, which is really what we're all about.
The presence of global companies reflects the port's role in world commerce. Cargo crossing the docks has grown 176% in less than 10 years, making the Port of Stockton the fourth busiest port in California.
I've seen the port get extremely busy. I was working when there would be maybe one ship every 2-3 weeks. Now we have 2-3 ships every day coming in. It's just booming.
While the port is responsive to world markets and international trade trends, it's also tied to the local community with a responsibility to its neighbors.
Today, the port supports more than 10,000 jobs, what I like to call family wage jobs, to become a major part of the economic foundation of Stockton and the greater San Joaquin County area. The port actually makes a major contribution through tax revenues that go into every facet of every service that's provided by the city of Stockton or San Joaquin County.
The port absolutely is part of the community. The waterway is not just only our ship channel. It is part of the Delta, it is part of the Pacific Flyway, it is a recreation area, it is a fishery. One of the latest commitments the port has made is we have joined the Green Marine program. It looks at how ports and how maritime operations are being handled to reduce your impacts on the environment. At Antioch Dunes National Wildlife Refuge, we are working to restore the habitat for 3 species by placing sand material that comes out of our dredging each year. It's been an extremely successful project. The owls were here when we took over Rough and Ready. You know, the rodents like the burrow holes in our levees, and we use the owls, the Air Force, if you want to call them, to come in and reduce the rodent population. This wonderful group, Puentes, came to us, and they wanted to develop a community garden. And we thought it was a wonderful idea.
We belong to a church in Sacramento, and a lot of the people are elderly and are really in need. So we thought once we start harvesting, we'll go and bless people so that way the people that can't get out, they'll have their fresh veggies delivered right to them. The power of one little seed to help people live more sustainable lives. Yeah, that's our goal.
It could be asked, what's a maritime port got to do with community gardening, or saving endangered species, or running a tiny service railroad, or any of a host of novel undertakings? It's being innovative, it's being responsive, it's being unique. But then a bustling port 75 miles inland from the coast is unique. That's the Port of Stockton. cast in a different mold from its start as a gold rush depot upriver, doing what's needed to meet the challenges of its times, the responsibilities as a community leader, and embracing the prospects for a bright future.
Back in 2006, we started building and installing barn owl nest boxes to enhance the barn owl population here at the port.
We put cameras in the boxes, put the images up on our website. I think we had 40,000 hits on our website just on the owls in 1 month last year.
The public went absolutely crazy for it. We would post regular updates on the port's Facebook page, and we got many, many, many responses, lots of interested viewers. Absolutely beautiful animals. They've got a big white disc of their face that actually helps channel light and sound. So when they're out hunting at night, they are able to locate their prey. The islands here are all surrounded by levees. To maintain the integrity of those levees, it's pretty important that you keep rodents from burrowing and digging holes. These owls can eat up to 3,000 rodents in a single breeding season. So they're quite an effective method of rodent control. To our knowledge, we have increased the population quite a bit. This particular box behind me last year housed 7 owlets. They all survived to fledging, which is somewhat rare. A typical brood is more in the neighborhood of 4 or 5, but we have 16 of these boxes at the port, and so you do the math, there's a significant number of owlets being reared. I guess it's like the Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come, because they were here in short order, and this particular box has been in use every year since 2006.
The point of the Owl Box program is to reduce pesticide use, protect our levees, and in the meantime, now we've got a great project we can also share with the public that creates interaction.
The port wants to do everything they can to enhance the environment and support local wildlife.
In 1845, when Charles Weber acquired a 49,000-acre parcel from his luckless business partner in exchange for paying off his grocery bill, he couldn't have anticipated what awaited him 3 years later.
During the gold rush, Argonauts could come to Stockton en route to what were known as the southern mines. But the principal artery for transportation and the fastest way to travel was via water.
There was no Stockton in those early days. There was Charles Weber's tent town on the San Joaquin River that served as a jumping-off point for the gold fields.
He realized that the San Joaquin River was going to be the principal aid in developing his city, and Charles Weber was able to attract enough business people to establish hotels and restaurants and freight companies, and they would cater to the wants and needs of the miners. Those who did not make their fortune, in many instances, had been farmers in their previous lives. And coming back into Stockton or Sacramento, took a look around the Central Valley and realized there was great agricultural potential.
We're in San Joaquin County. This is the most productive agricultural area really in the world. You grow corn, wheat, almonds, walnuts, fruit, a whole host of different commodities feeding the world. You couldn't have the unique agricultural environment we have without the river. That is what allowed this state to turn from a gold mining state, if you will, to a food state.
California's Central Valley is blessed with the best soil there is. Back then, the problem was less about growing the food than it was getting it to market. Without a statewide railroad system or even decent roads, Stockton was in a strategic position to be a hub, connecting the valley by river to San Francisco.
From gold rush days, riverboats carried passengers and cargo on a daily basis between Stockton, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
With the Central Pacific Railroad's completion of a branch line in 1869, connecting Stockton with the Transcontinental Railroad, the city's vision as a trade and transportation hub began to materialize, except for one critical issue.
There were rather tortuous waterways leading from San Francisco to Stockton, weaving and turning through the islands. And because of hydraulic mining, there was a lot of sedimentation of these river areas, and so it was becoming rather shallow.
In addition, ships were getting larger with deeper drafts, leaving the river's shallow depth a barrier to ocean-going vessels. If the region was going to grow with the times, it had to tame the twisting passage through the delta. Even though no single individual gets credit for proposing a dredged shipping channel, it was Lieutenant Colonel Barton Stone Alexander who drew up the plan in 1870 that showed it was feasible.
They kind of choked at the projected $8 million price tag of such a ship canal. And so it continued to be a festering problem for the city of Stockton, being cut off from that ocean-going transportation.
Other countries hungered for California products, not just grains, nuts, and cotton, but manufactured goods too. The opportunity for trade was undeniable.
When a product moves and how it moves is all dependent on where the destination is. The ship behind me is actually loading rice that's going to Japan. Rice would not be able to get to Japan if it didn't use port facilities, because it doesn't make economic sense to ship the kind of tonnage that one ship can hold in another way, like, say, maybe in an aircraft.
Stockton's residents remained convinced their future lay in a navigable ship channel. So in 1925, they passed a $3 million bond toward its construction. The state and feds later added more funds that finally set the project in motion. Work began in 1930. Dredges began removing millions of cubic yards of river bottom. Clamshell dredges piled the mud and rock to make levees that formed the new channel, opening acres of delta islands for farmland. Despite the Great Depression and Hitler's rise in Germany, in Stockton, church bells rang and automobile horns blared. It was 1933, and more than 1,000 people celebrated the arrival of the Daisy Gray, the first deep draft vessel to arrive at Stockton's new port using the new channel. It was the start of a new era.
The local responsibility was to develop the facilities. So they developed the docks, the warehousing, the rail connection, many of which we're actually still using today. In my opinion, rail facilities are just as important to the success of a port as a dock.
Central California Traction Company has been in business for more than 100 years. We are a small railroad that basically does all the railroad switching on the Port of Stockton, and we're going all day long. We get rail cars from two major railroads, Burlington Northern and Union Pacific, and we get those cars, separate them all out, take them to the customers, let them unload them or load them, and then take them back and give them to those Class I railroads. The port is a busy place, and they've got ships coming in, they've got trucks coming in, and if we didn't have the railroad here, you wouldn't be able to get enough trucks in over the road infrastructure that they have.
When the United States mobilized to fight in World War II, Stockton's port facility became an integral part of the war effort. The United States Army took over the Port of Stockton, and it became the largest vehicle and parts consignment center in the entire United States. The harbor overflowed with 10,000 workers, loading merchant vessels and assembling as many as 125 ships for the war effort, from tugs to minesweepers.
In 1944, the United States Navy took over what was known as Rough and Ready Island and turned it into a naval complex. And the Navy held on to this area up until the year 2000, when Rough and Ready Island and all of its developments were turned over to the Port of Stockton.
Rough and Ready Island tripled the size of the port overnight. It added warehousing and open land that the Port of Stockton never had before. The acquisition really helped us to be able to provide additional space for tenants to develop their own projects.
Yara North America chose this location for its central location in the valley. We were able to lease a piece of the land here and build this facility and move our operation from another location that was less profitable and less convenient, so to speak. Keeps us competitive, keeps our costs down, and keeps us profitable, which is really what we're all about.
The presence of global companies reflects the port's role in world commerce. Cargo crossing the docks has grown 176% in less than 10 years, making the Port of Stockton the fourth busiest port in California.
I've seen the port get extremely busy. I was working when there would be maybe one ship every 2-3 weeks. Now we have 2-3 ships every day coming in. It's just booming.
While the port is responsive to world markets and international trade trends, it's also tied to the local community with a responsibility to its neighbors.
Today, the port supports more than 10,000 jobs, what I like to call family wage jobs, to become a major part of the economic foundation of Stockton and the greater San Joaquin County area. The port actually makes a major contribution through tax revenues that go into every facet of every service that's provided by the city of Stockton or San Joaquin County.
The port absolutely is part of the community. The waterway is not just only our ship channel. It is part of the Delta, it is part of the Pacific Flyway, it is a recreation area, it is a fishery. One of the latest commitments the port has made is we have joined the Green Marine program. It looks at how ports and how maritime operations are being handled to reduce your impacts on the environment. At Antioch Dunes National Wildlife Refuge, we are working to restore the habitat for 3 species by placing sand material that comes out of our dredging each year. It's been an extremely successful project. The owls were here when we took over Rough and Ready. You know, the rodents like to burrow holes in our levees, and we use the owls, the Air Force, if you want to call them, to come in and reduce the rodent population. This wonderful group, Puentes, came to us, and they wanted to develop a community garden. And we thought it was a wonderful idea.
We belong to a church in Sacramento, and a lot of the people are elderly and are really in need. So we thought once we start harvesting, we'll go and bless people so that way the people that can't get out, they'll have their fresh veggies delivered right to them. The power of one little seed to help people live more sustainable lives. Yeah, that's our goal.
It could be asked, what's a maritime port got to do with community gardening, or saving endangered species, or running a tiny service railroad, or any of a host of novel undertakings? It's being innovative, it's being responsive, it's being unique. But then, a bustling port 75 miles inland from the coast is unique. That's the Port of Stockton, cast in a different mold from its start as a gold rush depot upriver, doing what's needed to meet the challenges of its times, the responsibilities as a community leader, and embracing the prospects for a bright future.
Back in 2006, we started building and installing barn owl nest boxes to enhance the barn owl population here at the port.
We put cameras in the boxes, put the images up on our website. I think we had 40,000 hits on our website just on the owls in 1 month last year.
The public went absolutely crazy for it. We would post regular updates on the port's Facebook page, and we got many, many, many responses, lots of interested viewers. Absolutely beautiful animals. They've got a big white disc of their face that actually helps channel light and sound. So when they're out hunting at night, they are able to locate their prey. The islands here are all surrounded by levees. To maintain the integrity of those levees, it's pretty important that you keep rodents from burrowing and digging holes. These owls can eat up to 3,000 rodents in a single breeding season. So they're quite an effective method of rodent control. To our knowledge, we have increased the population quite a bit. This particular box behind me last year
Okay, the Port Commission took no formal reportable action. The Port Commission took no formal reportable action during these closed sessions. Any other items? Meeting adjourned.
I'll dig on this because it doesn't really do any of us.